Hi, everybody. I'm here to introduce this next lab, Lab 4A, Kingdom Animalia, number one, the invertebrates. The point of this lab is to introduce you a little bit to the different animals in the animal kingdom. All animals have the same characteristics. They are all here. They are multicellular, which means that they are made up of many cells. They are eukaryotes, which means that they have a nucleus. They ingest food, so they get their food sources and their energy from other organisms. And they reproduce sexually. So some of them may asexually reproduce. Sea stars can do this, like if one of their arms breaks off, they can regenerate and make a new sea star. But they also have the ability to reproduce sexually, which means that they're able to reproduce with another organism. The first thing that we're going to ask you to do is to take a look at organisms of these different groups. On the lab, it says these different phylums. And a phylum is a group of organisms that share several characteristics. So these are the different phylums that are in Animalia, the big kingdom of animals. There's also a whole phylum that is not on this lab, but will be in labs later on in the semester. That's the chordates. But for this lab and the next few labs, we are just going to be looking at these different groups of animals. If you have the Rust book, that's that optional second book, a guide to biology lab that you can buy at the bookstore. They show you in these pages what those organisms look like. But the first thing that we're going to ask you to do is to take a look at these different animals. So on the second page of the lab are a bunch of different animals from the different groups. And we don't expect that you know what groups these animals belong to, but what we want you to do is to just try to group them yourselves. You know, when a scientist or when the scientific community sees a new animal or finds a new organism, we try to classify them by their physiological characteristics, like what they look like. Are there other organisms that look very similar? Maybe, therefore, they're in the same group or they're part of the same phylum. So what we're going to ask you to do, or what we want you to do, is to take a look and try to group these animals together. For example, I might find that this worm here, which looks like an earthworm, so this one, and this one over here, which looks similar, would be in the same group. So I'm going to take these two, and I'm going to copy them, so you can go and click copy, and I'm going to paste them onto a PowerPoint slide. So there. So I have this organism and this organism, and I'm going to say that these two organisms are in the same group. Are they? I don't know yet, because we haven't gotten that far. But at least I'm pretending to be a scientist and trying to group these organisms together. I'm then going to, oops, wrong button. I'm then going to insert a text box, and I'm just going to describe what the characteristic is. And this characteristic for me that I thought that they were the same is that they are both worm-like, they look slimy, curly, something like that. Were there any other organisms that kind of look like that? Maybe this guy? Or maybe this guy over here. So I might take this one, and I'm going to add it to the groups of organisms right now. So the little surprise that you'll find out in subsequent labs is that these are actually all in 3 different groups. But if you look at them, they look like they're in the same group. So that is that activity. So you could go ahead and try to get the rest of these and group them the best you can based on their features. And then you can always send that to your professor just to show that you did this part of the activity. The rest of the lab is looking at pictures of different organisms from the different groups. So this part is phylum Porifera, and these are the sponges. So you're going to get some information on the animals that are in this phylum, Here are some bolded words. You should be able to label these bolded words based on the Rust book, based on your textbook, and then in the internet sources. Same thing with the next group, phylum Cnidaria. Here's some information on the characteristics of organisms in this group. And again, label these pictures. And the last group that you're going to look at for today are Platyhelminthes. These are the flatworms. Here's some information about the group. And then, label some of the pictures. And finally, you're going to fill out this character matrix. And this is actually, I think, the most important part of this lab. So what you're going to basically do is you're going to look at the animals in this group, Platyhelminthes, and you have to tell us if they have these characteristics. All of these characteristics are found in the description of that organism. So if this characteristic, like the circulatory system, if that is not found in the description of Platyhelminthes, then Platyhelminthes does not have that characteristic. But if Platyhelminthes, in the description of Platyhelminthes above says that they have bilateral symmetry, which they do, then you can put a yes. You should send this, at least this lab portion, to your professor. Make sure that this is correct, because you're going to be using this chart in a later lab that is like super important. So again, if you have any questions, please go ahead, ask your professor, contact them for any help you may need. So until next time, have a good day.